Hello and welcome back to my podcast. So my first one went really well. I got a good response from it, got a good few views on it with Mr. Rob Colley. So it is called not just another bodybuilding podcast, but this is the powerlifting edition. So I've got another local guest from up the north of Scotland, trying to get as many local people on as we can to prove that we have some strong dudes up here. So I'll let my guest introduce himself, Mr. Lewis Cheetham.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be asked to be on as one of the little local starting groups of this podcast. So real nice to be here. But my name's Lewis Cheetham, and I go by the name of Renegade Powerlifting if you're looking up on Insta. But basically started out bodybuilding, which is nice because it ties in with the podcast name. Mm-hmm. And then I shifted to powerlifting, had like a pretty nasty bike accident, which tore my groin both sides. So I had to put like the pleasure hobby to the side and realize that, you know, I could be better at something else. So up here, Northeast Scotland, trying to big up a powerlifting name in Northeast Scotland, and then we'll take it from there and hopefully all goes okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got we've definitely got the genetics up here. Well, you can see that with like the Stoltman brothers. We definitely have got something up here that gives us that
like
fight.
half their height, but yeah, it's okay. We're just in like condensed packages.
Exactly. So we'll just jump straight into the questions. And the first one is really, how did you get to where you are now? And we'll kind of cover your journey further on and talk about what kind of happened to you last year, which we'll get onto. But how did you get into lifting? So those of you that don't know, Lewis is a competitive powerlifter at the moment. So just kind of how did you go from going to the gym, because obviously you started going to the gym, to wanting to powerlift, and then you can talk a bit about your bodybuilding as well and what kind of influenced that transfer over.
Yeah, so like at the start, it all kind of started with like this dream of being superhuman, and then at the time, Jay Cutler was like, I would say pretty much in his prime, but slowly sort of fading out. But I just remember this one photo of Jay Cutler, and I was like, that's what I need to be. And then that kind of just like fueled the ambition from there. Yeah, he was like standing in the desert with like a white pair of trousers on, just like standing like this. But
I think I know.
Granted, I never got there, but it was definitely the motivation to get there. It kind of started basically like back 13, 14, and you know, just at the age where you're starting to find like Strongbow and drinking out the parks and stuff like that. But a really good friend of mine, brother, some may say, a boy called Alex Devlin, he was into the gym quite big at the time, a couple of years older than me. And he kind of turned around and he was like, you know, you're better than this. And then so it came a case of like garage workouts. You know, if it was good form, like I doubt that. But it was the consistency of like going, getting there, getting the job done. And that was my life for a good couple of years. And then from there, I kind of just like built connections in like the bodybuilding world. Local people who are much better than me. But started there, and then just year in, year out, I came sort of obsessed with the idea of what you put in is what you get out. So I kind of adopted that work ethic, and I like to think it took me places. It definitely done well. And then I started pushing for like a competitive career when I was 19. Ended up doing 2 bodybuilding shows in the same year, but lack of experience and lack of sort of dialing down the diet because I didn't understand it kind of got in the way of that. So I showed up. I didn't do a great job or anything, but I was quite fortunate. Like I always had like quite dense muscle and stuff. I was always like, you could say I was like that fat guy on stage that forgot to cut. Yeah. Like I was quite close to that sort of thing. And then the love just kind of grew from there. It came a lifestyle, and you can't really shake it. Like I know people are like, you know, it's an obsession and stuff like that, but in my eyes, there's much worse obsessions out there. And it keeps you sane, and it helps you through a lot of things as well. Like it's especially times like these, like in lockdown, like it's been an absolute godsend having my gym here.
I will we'll say that now. Again, I've got another guest that's got their own home gym, so someone that can still train. We were just talking off air. It's got a bit of a theme now. My guests are now just sitting in front of are you on a bench there?
Yeah, this is the wee competition bench that I've got.
So just to rub it in our faces a wee bit more, but it's okay. We'll let him off because soon I might be able to get a session in there. That's what we're all hoping for.
10 kg on PB as soon as you walk in the door. That's what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool, bro.
Yeah. So so you done your bodybuilding shows, and it was probably a bit like when I done my first one. You thought you were in pretty good condition because it was really the best shape that you'd ever been in, and you don't realize when you're a complete kind of novice to it that how lean you really have to be competitive. You think you're in good shape because you can see your abs and a bit of definition here and there, and then you finally realize, oh shit, there's about another 10 kilos to go.
Yeah, like you're packing that little bit extra, but you know, it's cool in a t-shirt, like if you've got like a wee vein running down the bicep, and that's kind of how you measure the success, is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
But, it was good. It was a learning curve. It was a lesson. You know, it's not easy to get into any form of good shape, let alone great shape. I don't think I was quite there, but no, it's been. I would have, if I could have like changed the story a wee bit, I probably would have got into powerlifting a little bit earlier. But you can't really think like that, otherwise you'll just regress and go backwards. Like you've only got this opportunity, which is now, so you might as well just seize it and then push that as far as you can go from the moment that you decide. So
how did the obsession go from bodybuilding to powerlifting, or did you always like powerlifting? Was it always in the back of your mind? How did you transition to it?
it's a bit of a funny one because as a bodybuilder, like I was always I was better at being a strong bodybuilder than being a conditioned bodybuilder, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
So like I was always kind of chasing that, like, you know, like big deadlifts are cool and stuff like that. But I was never like, because you don't program in for it, like the kilos come, but they're not, you know, it's not that easy to come by. But the obsession was just wanting to be like the Hulk, basically, you know, just like moving immovable objects and kind of getting to that point. But I don't really know what the pivotal moment was for me, other than that, like I was saying earlier, that crash on my bike, which kind of just made me think that, you know, I'm better at this than I was ever going to be at bodybuilding. Like I kind of recognized that because like working away from home half the year, which made things quite difficult. So you couldn't really target your diet as perfectly. Obviously diet's important in powerlifting, but as you know, power bellies are perfectly acceptable.
Some people can call them sexy.
I mean, the dad bod's cool, man. Like I've got this little gut going on now, so all good. The obsession. I think there was just one day I went to Chris, Missouri, and I was like, look, I really want to get strong. And then we just took it from there. And then I got, you know, hungry on the idea of like these kilos were still going up and, you know, being fairly close to records, even though you just considered yourself a nobody at the time. That was kind of the fuel for my fire, really. Something objective rather than subjective was kind of up my street at that point. So I just took it and then accidentally just got like half decent at it. So that's kind of just put me in the frame of mind now where I just want to keep going and going and going.
Yeah. So are you probably like myself, very, very motivated by numbers? That's pretty much what drives our gym sessions.
Yeah. Like it's hard because you need to learn that, you know, not every day is going to be a good day and stuff, but you don't realize just how much you can achieve when your head's put to it. And when you put your head to it, and then the rewards come, because every kilo gained is a reward at the end of the day. Like if you're having a good session and you have a really good pump, like, you know, you look good for a night, and then the next morning you're deflated again and you're like, well, where did that go? But then, you know, that kilogram PB or, you know, like 10 kilo PB, like never leaves. That's always there. You've always achieved that. Yeah. So that's kind of where my thirst went for it, to be fair.
It might as well. It's like that one step closer. So let's say your squat's at 200 and you're wanting a 220 squat, and you're wanting five biscuits on that plate. That bar.
20 biscuits only.
So and it's that almost like, so you do 202.5 kilos. You know you're on that road to that goal that you have. It's almost like them. You see people talking about the long-term and short-term goals. It might be these little steps that you see working up to that big long-term goal of maybe it might be a three plate bench and then a 5 plate squat and a 6 plate deadlift, like because that's only really numbers that count, isn't it? It's just how many plates can you get on.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you know, even fake weights, are people starting to use them now?
Exactly. That's all you
kidding, man.
That's all you need. That's all that place is full of, I reckon.
Yeah, like they're not real 20s, man. They're 10s if you're lucky, just big plates.
The training plates.
yeah, just for the gram.
No, I think everyone will know by training. I think the theme has been all these iron plates. I've got a few iron plates that I use on my little 1-inch bar that I've got, and they're 5 kilo plates, but they're so heavy, and I think it's just because they're iron. And everyone seems to be thinking that.
Like if you throw an iron plate off the ground, it sounds heavy. It doesn't bounce; it just hits the deck hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like a wee rubber plate will just bounce, and if it bounces, it obviously can't be that heavy.
Yeah,
that's the way I approach it.
So, a lot of people will probably know about your major injury that you had. Was it last year? It was last year.
Yeah, it was the tail end of last year.
Yeah. So just before we get into that, what was your kind of meet history before that? And then so we can kind of almost we'll take the viewers through a nice journey from your progress before your injury, which was unfortunately a severe bicep tear. And then we'll talk about what's happened after you've recovered. So what was before?
So basically, the first competition I done in powerlifting was down at the Scottish Qualifiers, the GPC at OBS Gym, run by Andrew Kearney. Good guy. Nice to meet him. I had a bit of an unsuccessful day in the squat. Only ended up getting my 270 squat. I kind of just got like, you know, my nerve management wasn't good at the time. But like a couple of days before, like I had conjunctivitis. So when I was down on the squat, like I jumped too high, done my 270, and then I was like, right, okay, too hungry for the kilos, and then tried to go 305, I think it was, or 307.5, and I'd never done over 290 before, or 280 even. So I got a little bit excited, and the bottom of the squat ended up bursting the blood vessels in my eye, so I came back up. That was a different one to deal with, because like my eye was still like sort of crying blood, if you like. So, you know, how do you deal with that sort of thing when you've never experienced that before?
It's funny how many of these stories I seem to relate to. I'm just gonna go it back. You know how you were saying about the whole Hulk thing? I'll just maybe point out that one of my first memories of Lewis was we went to the same school together, and how old are you?
24. I had to think about that.
So Lewis would have been 3 years, 3 years older than me in school. I remember he actually dressed up as the Incredible Hulk for whatever, it must have been like mashup day or
like
something.
Fancy dress day or something.
Yeah, and another funny story about Lewis is when I actually didn't realize that was your first proper meet, but when you were coming back from that, I actually was going down to Glasgow, and we met at Perth service station. I seen his eye, and oh my God, Chelsea was with me as well, and she was like, "Oh, that was just not. It wasn't pretty." But so it
was fine for me because like I didn't see it, but see, as soon as I looked in the mirror, I was like, no wonder people are looking at me funny. It was pretty grim. Like all the white in my eye had just gone to blood, but that was I would like to say an eye opener, but no pun intended, of course. But so like I kind of had to like dial things back. But I went down there and I had like this dream of beating the 202.5 bench record for that weight class and age class. So like I kind of didn't want to give up on that. Still went. I got 205. Got a little bit excited beforehand, and I missed my 190 bench because I racked it too quick. And then done the 205, which was like I wouldn't say out of my comfort zone, but that's like 1 rep max range, and obviously no 1 rep max is easy. So that was superb. And then Andrew Kearney got that put on the records board on Neil's side. So currently still the record holder for that one, which is, as we were saying earlier, like it's exciting to get you know, be somebody who you didn't think was ever like a top tier level, and then do something like that, which was like extremely rewarding. So now I'm just kind of like focused on beating the next one, if you get me. But and then when it came to deadlifting, I just done a token effort deadlift, and this is where it ties in with later in the year. So I just done a deadlift at 250 so that I could get the invite to the British and the Worlds for GPC, which was just the plan because I'd kind of messed it up on the squat. So
I
got the
quite
bench.
like that. I quite like that story because at the moment, then technically my deadlift PB in meat standards is more than you at the moment, so that makes me feel really good.
Yeah, there
Thanks
you
for
go.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, you technically in a meet you've done more than me. Yes.
Yep, 15 kilos on you.
I mean, it's sore for the ego, but you know, I'm glad you done it, man. So
But
off
yeah,
the back of
I know
that,
what you mean. Yeah, it's well, like when I done so in case anyone doesn't know, I done a powerlifting meet at the end of it was the start. It was January,
yeah.
start of this year, and my third deadlift attempt was actually going for a record, a Scottish record as well. And like I can't imagine that feeling. I didn't get it, unfortunately. I was so close, but I can't imagine that feeling of when you finish that bench press and racked it. It was like, that is it. That's the heaviest that anyone has ever done. It's almost surreal. Even though was it a British or Scottish record?
British record, that one.
British, yeah. So that's even
like I don't know how it
better.
stands. Like maybe in other federations somebody's done more, but currently as it stands in that federation,
that's just what it is.
Nobody's done more. But so that takes me to the British, and then my coach at the time, Chris Mazur, was he was like, you know, if you're going to do the British and then the Worlds, like you're not better off maintaining some health and then pursuing a couple more kilos and getting ready for the Worlds. So we made that decision, and it was the right decision because we couldn't tell the future at the time. So fast forward a little bit longer to, I think it was like November, and I was supposed to be going over to Slovakia for the Worlds. But a week before it happened, I had an accident at work, which ended up rupturing my bicep tendon. So, you know, like I spent ages on YouTube watching people like, you know, who were deadlifting and then their bicep kind of just curls up into a little ball.
Yeah.
And so like instantly at the time, I was just like, oh man, I know exactly what's just happened here. And it was just that moment of realization to think that like everything you'd been like gearing towards and getting excited for has just been kind of taken away from you. And denial. It's basically being ripped apart. But no, I was in severe denial. And even like the recovery process afterwards, like it was just like mentally like a big struggle as well, because you knew you wanted to get back into it, but you're always worried about, you know, if you ever could, like would it go again? I mean, touch wood. I've not been in that position since, but this year obviously Corona's got in the way, so I was supposed to be down at the Scottish qualifier again, and then had plans for the Irish Pro in August. And now everything's been kind of pushed back, so I don't think anyone really knows. So I'm just treating this as a big off season to try and push some numbers up, and then when everyone's ready, I'll be ready.
So at the moment, there's nothing really planned for what you've got next on the cards. It's just kind of waiting for everything to be released again, isn't it?
Yeah, like I've kind of in this time I've just said to myself that you know, like do a couple of, you know, like anyone can enter shows, just to get some numbers up and get on the sort of record boards, and basically just make up for the poor numbers that I had before. But then next year to do only invite only shows, so the likes of Irish Pro, and then just I don't even know what other ones I want to do. I was just head set on Irish Pro. So
how do they
like
work
Big Dogs or something?
How do they work in terms of when you say invite only? What does that kind of mean?
Yeah, so basically you need to have a minimum standard before you can get an invitation to them. So like it'll be done on Wilks points or dots, depending on what federation it is, but they loosely translate to roughly the same thing. It's still a formula against body weight vs total. So basically if you meet that standard, then it's like an upper tier sort of competition, so that you can really sort of push yourself against people who are people you idolize, basically. Like, these are people that have got numbers that you would love. So it's, you know, it's always easier to be, well, who's hungrier, the wolf that's climbing or the wolf on top? So if you're still climbing, it's really nice to see people at the top that are pushing some serious numbers. So
and you can almost tell that you want that almost, you could call it redemption from that meet that you've last done. You don't want to be known too long for that meet of bursting your blood vessel in your eye.
Yeah, it just seems to be like last year with like a streak of bad luck, basically, like just injury wise, but it happens quite regular. Like you know, like I had a pec strain the other week, but you just deal with these things smart, and then come back and try not let it push you off your momentum too quickly, because that's kind of what separates people. Because, you know, as you know, everyone gets injuries. Like no athlete doesn't get an injury here or there. So it's just how you deal with them that separates you. So there's always remedial work you can do, and bouncing back is always a possibility as long as you're there to bounce back. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
And so you have got a great mindset. I've trained with you a couple of times, and how did you develop that mindset? Have you always been a kind of positive glass? It's almost like that glass half full type of I'm trying to think the word. That kind of.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, the truth's different to what people see. You know, bottom line. You know, a lot of times I come in here, and, you know, a lot of them are dark days where you don't always feel like, not motivated as such, but you're kind of beating yourself down. But if you can manipulate that and turn it into like the desire to better yourself, or I'm not promoting like a dark frame of mind or anything, but you know, you can only deal with what you've got at hand. But I spent a bit of time listening to Eric Thomas on podcasts, and that was kind of like, that mind manipulation started for me at that time, because I was like, well, you know, like, you've only got one mind and you're in charge of it, basically. Like, you decide how the future goes, you decide what changes, or, you know, what's your reality going to be. Well, you essentially have control over that to an extent. There was a poem by William Ernest Henley called Invictus, and the last two lines just kind of stuck in my head. It's you're the master of your fate. Sorry, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So like, things like that just repeat to me all the time. So I'm just kind of sitting there. I've taken this sort of thing a step further as well. I'm now starting to use a headspace coach called Emma Hackett, Limitless Coaching on Instagram. But she's actually helped me do wonders, because when you're coming in here in the powerlifting world, like, every kilo is a barrier. Like, you know, like you were saying earlier about that 200 squat and then that 220 squat, like, it's intimidating. Like, if you've got another big biscuit on the side of the bar and you're like, oh man, I've never done this before. So you know, you've got to break that mental barrier to believe in yourself enough. But nah, man, like, you know, every session's hard. Like, every gym session's hard. You know, it's a lot easier to sit on the couch and not do anything than it is to come to a gym and then still put in a good effort. But you've just got to remember that everything you do goes in the bank. Like, you've whatever effort you do, like, even if it's a half-assed effort, like, any effort you put in is still a step closer than you were before. So as long as you're not injuring yourself doing something stupid, listen to your body, and then, you know, don't get too caught up. But we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that you need to remember, especially when you see on social media. It is a highlight reel. That's what everyone posts. It's a highlight reel of their life, and it's not always about that. And you need to realize that they're not posting the same thing every day. You might have a streak of, let's talk about it in lifting terms, you might have a streak where you're like PB, 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 and then you might miss a lift for 3 weeks, and you just have
just had that. I know exactly how that feels. Like, I go through that quite regularly. Like, the last couple of weeks have been really solid on PBs for me, like, week in, week out. And then you know, it's a case of practice what you preach, but sometimes it's hard because, like, the instantaneous reward you is different to the long game you. So you're sitting there like, yeah, but if I just put another couple of biscuits on there, like, you know, that's another PB. But, you know, sometimes you just got to rein that in a little bit and understand that you've got to be a little bit smarter, otherwise you just end up in a heap on the floor. And you know, that's no good for anyone, especially
No.
progress.
And so how would you, it's hard to explain to people that aren't maybe in this industry, and we might get a few people that just know us from school or from who just from on social media and things like that. So how it's hard to explain to people what this kind of means to us, that these little PBs, why we put ourselves through this and why we are different to people that just go to the gym. We're here to train. We're here to compete. It's like that. We're not here to take part, here to take over type of thing.
Over, man.
So, how do you kind of speak to people? Because you must get a lot with work and things like that, people that don't get it. And how do you go about explaining it to them and why you do it and why you do it for you? Because again, like bodybuilding, powerlifting, it's a very solo sport. You might have a team, but it's all about you. No one's forcing us to do this. I think that's kind of the main thing. We just love it. How do you go about telling people about it?
It's a funny one because I've kind of been doing this for long enough now that, you know, these questions don't really get asked a lot. Like, you know, like yourself, I'm sure you don't get people that you've known for a long time still asking you like how you do it. But, you know, people ask you what it means to you. And, you know, at work, it's quite football dominated. Like, you know, I'm not really that kind of guy. Like, I'm not really that into football. And I can't even pretend to like football because I've literally no idea what's going on. But, you know, I think some people just accept the fact that like it's your lifestyle. And as you're saying, nobody else does it for you. But it's really good. Like, I think what happens is a lot of people tend to bounce off the energy that you give them about your sport. So, you know, like there could be a motivational speaker on the stage and he could almost be telling you lies. But if you bounce off the energy and the way it's told to you, it's, you know, you believe it as gospel and you're just like, yeah, like this is amazing. Like I can do this, I can do that. But for me, it's just a thing that, I don't even know how to describe it. Like my nana was always like, you know, I hope you're not going to get any bigger. And I was like, nana, like it's, you know, I'm not doing it on purpose, but like, you know, I started life out as a teenager at like 69 kilos or something just now. And I'm sitting about 108, 109, competing in a 100 kilo class. So, you know, you do get these things as a byproduct. But in terms of, you know, I think the most positive thing about this sort of thing is the way you portray your sport could either make it or break it. Like if you think about it, like we're almost the future of it because we're still at the early stages. So like those people around us, especially in our local area when there's not too many people that are involved, like, you know, if you promote it, if you see like yourself making gains, if you see PBs happening, I think a lot of people bounce off that. So I get a lot of pleasure in that. So in terms of me voicing my, I don't want to say the word success because that's like pig-headed and that's not the way to go with it. But, you know, you can't argue with PBs. Yeah, like it's your journey. And like you're seeing like somebody taking a step forward. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well, man. So, you know, there's people that I know that speak, albeit not very often or anything, but, you know, they haven't stepped foot in a gym, but they're like, oh, well done, man. Like that's really impressive. So I kind of live for that sort of thing. That just makes me feel really good because it's bringing the sport out in a better light. And, you know, hopefully it makes somebody make a change in their life to say, do you know what, man, I'd really like to try that.
Yeah. And they don't realize
I probably didn't answer your question that well, but, you know,
it's a hard one to answer. It's almost just explaining to people that even if they don't quite understand what we're doing or why we want to do this or why we want to go to the gym and spend hours there, it's just kind of explaining to them it's like every other sport. It's just what we've chosen to do and what we love doing and what we get satisfaction out of, in a weird way.
I think the popularity of the gym's kind of brought things on forward as well because, you know, you've got a lot of people that attend the gym now, and even if they don't want to compete, like before it was quite dominated with people that, you know, you were kind of like the elite at the time. You know, when other people were like, you know, cool, we could like go a drinking or just do nothing. You've got people now that are a lot more interested in bettering their own bodies and their own lifestyles and stuff. And, you know, much even, well, people like slag it off, but, you know, the likes of Herbalife, it's still giving somebody fuel to make their fire greater. So, you know, I'm all for that sort of thing. And that's why you're getting like such a variation of people in a gym now. Like it's not a really niche market anymore. You've got like a lot of people that are coming in. And you know, like if you're throwing up decent weights, you know, they might look at you and think, wow, that's like, you know, that's pretty cool. And I would maybe like to do that one day. So, yeah, that sort of thing. I get a lot of personal enjoyment from that one.
And you remember as well when you first started the gym and you seen someone lifting more than you done, and it was just that feeling of, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be able to do that. You always, and it's, people always say, "Oh, do it for yourself," but you want to strive to be the strongest person in the room. It's
exactly. Yeah, the hardest worker.
You may not say it, but it just is, and it can be. You have to learn to control it. You need to not be an idiot with it and just try put on more weight than the person next to you squatting.
That's why it was a really hard training session whenever I see you in there, because I'm like, oh man, like he's going to push it real hard today. Like I can't take a step back. So it's really nice, especially, you know, the likes of this. Like, you know, we've bonded through this, and you know, a lot more so than we would have if we didn't do this. So, like I said, your network of people comes stronger, and the people that are involved with you, you know, you kind of pick your circle a bit more closely because they've got the same passions and desires that you have, albeit your sport's different to mine. But, you know, I've got an interest in what you do and you've got an interest in what I do. So, you know, it's really nice just to bounce off each other for that one. And it's nice, man. It's a good quality life to live, I think.
Yeah, and it may be a bit regimented, and you may have to not be as go out as much, and because you are coming close to a show or coming close to a meet in your case, but it's just it all stems down to, this is what we want to do, and this is what we enjoy, and this is what keeps us sane.
Yeah, it's one of those. Like, if you think about anyone that's been on a diet, like if you think about that one Chinese you eat at the end of the week because you've earned it, like that Chinese tastes better than any other Chinese you've ever had. So like, it's like getting that like small rewards back and enjoying things, and you actually get like a heightened experience of what's going on around you. And I would almost urge anyone to get into this sort of thing. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, doesn't matter
like,
what.
You don't have, you don't have to like go absolutely flat out and, you know, like throw your ass on the ground every single. Like, I don't know if this is a PG podcast or what's going on.
No, go for it.
Don't know if we're gonna get beep 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 like censored out. But,
nah,
definitely, man. Like, if you can just inspire yourself to take a step further than you have the other day, and I truly believe that. Like, you know, competition's a healthy thing. Like, if you've got people spurring you on, like I said, if you've got multiple people coming into the same room as you trying to push you harder, then you actually benefit from that. You're like, you know, it's not that you're watching somebody else get stronger than you. It's, well, they've got the same opportunities that I do, so why can't I do the same? So yeah, just bounce off it. And that's the sort of thing I like. And especially recently, like, I've been making connections with a few boys that are further afield than this. And you know, it's super nice because, like, bro, like, do you want to come down and train with us? And yeah, they might be stronger than you, but that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to train with people who are excelling at the sport that you want to. Like, it's a growth experience.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing. That's a bit of advice I would always say to people. Don't be afraid to train with people that are stronger than you, because it's something for you to
make
be
good
inspired
spotters.
by.
And two, it's inspirational.
And three, you might tire them out if they have to always take off their plates all the time. So you might, by the end of the session.
There's always advantages, man.
So I want to talk a wee bit about your trip to America. That was it was pretty much just before you got back, just before you almost locked in America, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, that almost wouldn't be a bad thing. I fell in love with America, man. It was like, oh man.
So what was your reason? Good, what was your reason to going over there? Because I wasn't as familiar with the kind of people that you were there with. So, and was that just you investing back into yourself, really?
Yeah, pretty much, because I made the choice to go with Kabuki coaching, and I've been on their team for probably coming up a year now. But it's a strange one, because, you know how we're saying for feedback, like, yeah, it's nice to speak to them over the phone or a FaceTime or something like that, but you can't actually grasp the same opportunity when you're in the room with the people that are writing your programs or, you know, watching you and seeing how you get on. So I booked this trip to America over to Portland, and it was just a learning experience, basically. Like, they were running a seminar the same weekend, coincidentally, which was, again, another growth opportunity. So heading over there, meeting some like-minded folk, met some really good people, particularly my coach and Chris Duffin. Like, that was another one. Like, he's a huge name in powerlifting, so like, that was an opportunity to see Chris Duffin, man.
He's made his own
so
bar.
I went over there. Yeah, see, this is it. Like, he's got his fingers in a lot of pies, man. They've got their own fabrication workshop and everything. Like, I went over there and it was just like a life I'd love to live.
Yeah.
So I went over there basically just to get an idea of being part of the bigger picture. Like, you know, you say you're being coached by Kabuki, but oh man, I've never met them. So like, what does that really feel like? But no, it was real nice. Went over there, trained, seminar, then trained again. And then I came back, but luckily I got back just in time.
Yeah.
But no, it was an amazing experience. I wanted to go to America for a long time anyway, so this was like a good reason to. And particularly at this stage of my life, where it's like, right, I could potentially be pretty good at this. So if I just like lock down and lock in, and then surround myself with the people that sort of bring out the best in the powerlifting, or the powerlifter in me. You know, that's, you know, success comes with that. So it was a well needed visit to feel like I was part of something bigger as well. So
it's investing back in yourself, like you said at the start. It's something that's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your coaches, because they can actually, it's a completely different ballgame when you see someone lift in person. You can kind of get to know everything about them. So it's probably beneficial for them as well. And it's only going to make your journey a lot smoother, because they've seen you now.
Yeah, it's like building personal relationships with them as well. Like, you know, like putting names to the faces, if you like. Like I said, FaceTime's good and stuff, but you know, you actually get like personal experiences with them. So I would do it again in a heartbeat. Some really good people over in Kabuki. So any chance I would get, I would go back over, and even just for a training session. Like, that's what we're saying. Like, how much does this mean to you? But you know, I was prepared to travel to America just to get under a bar that I've got sitting right here.
Yeah.
You know, so like, that's the difference.
You're paying a plane ticket for world-class spars.
Yeah. Like, it was just like, I was squatting and Chris Duffin was standing right next to me. Like, I don't think there's anything more motivating than one of the world's strongest men sitting there right next to you doing his own thing.
You know,
like,
what
it was nothing though. Like,
yeah, you know what it's like when you're in the gym and you notice that someone's watching you, you're like, oh no, we're gonna have to perform here.
Yeah, like, that's another PB coming right this way. Yeah, good, bro. I would urge anyone, if they've got a distance coach, then get themselves over to them and just kind of submerge yourself in the experience.
Yeah, you want to, and especially if you're wanting to be serious in any sport. This could go to anything. If you want to be serious in it, you really have to get to know who you're working with, and don't just work with people because they're a big name. Work with someone that you know you trust with your progress, and you know is gonna benefit you. And that's exactly what you've done, and like getting that mindset kind of coaching service as well, just to keep you in track. And then that's part of the reason why I went to Pro Prep coaching Andy and Steph as well, just because it's good
teammate.
So we're actually on the same team as well. So you get your nutrition, is it, from them?
Yeah.
So you got lots of different coaches doing lots of different things, but again, they're based in Aberdeen, and there's not that many high class, especially as experienced as they are and knowledgeable as they are around here. So when I was planning before we all got locked down, to go through there at least once every 2 weeks, and just to speak to them so they can see me in person and train with them, just to try do as much as I can. And they were great to do that. But again,
they also bring their own little bubble of like motivation as well. So yeah, they're great for that.
Good. I think it's great to get your bubble as motivational as possible, and they're the best people.
Yeah, like even just like one conversation with them, you're sitting there like, right, I'm gonna like complete the world today.
Exactly. So that's what you want in life. You don't want drollness, if that's even a word. I don't care. But
if it fits, it fits.
Yeah. So going on, I'm going to get my questions back up there. We've answered probably about 2 out of the 7 that I've got, but it's okay. So the next question was, you posted a wee thing on, I noticed on I think it was on the Pro Prep page, about looking like a bodybuilder but lifting like a powerlifter.
Yes.
Yeah. What's this whole thing? Is there some people in mind that you have that are kind of inspired by this, or just what's this about?
No, well, it was basically like the way I kind of started to see it was like, obviously you compete at a certain weight in powerlifting. So like, why waste that weight with blubber? If you like why not condense as much muscle as you can into that package? So that was kind of like the driving factor. A few, like, you know, you watch like videos of like Dan Green or Chris Duffin when he's at his absolute prime, and you're sitting there like, you know, they don't actively push to look like bodybuilders as such, but their muscle makeup is phenomenal. So you're sitting there, and I'm sitting here, you know, like a wee power belly and, you know, that sort of thing. So I was like, you know, like, I have the opportunity to make the change. Came friends with Andy and Steph when I was through in results. They actually, you know, Andy came up to me and he was like, challenge you on the leg press, and I was like, instantly, like, we can be friends. I was like, I like this. So like, just vibed off them, and, you know, I see this sort of level of work. Yeah, man.
Good.
Yeah, of course. I couldn't let a bodybuilder beat a powerlifter, man. What's going on there? Like, I nearly burst my arsehole in the process, but like, it was good. It was really good. So I kind of just like had this mindset, and I was like, you know, like, let's, obviously, because I'm sitting above my competitive weight just now, and I was like, well, instead of worrying too much about like a water cut at the time, like, why don't we just like trim it back slowly, push for strength at the same time. Obviously, like, if you're doing a weight cut, then it's quite hard to push strength. But again, I'm pretty sure that's down to mindset. I know there's science to prove that that's not the case, but as I demonstrated the other night, like, I failed a 315 for a double on deadlift.
Yeah.
So I put another 2.5 kilos on the bar and got that for a double. So like, a lot of your success is down to mindset. So I just kind of approach that with the same attitude. And if I can, you know, feel better, feel healthier, and eat foods that help me perform better, then I'm all for it. And, you know, that's the way I see it, is like, it's wheels on a car. Like, I've got Kabuki writing the programming, which is 2 wheels, and then I've got headspace coaching, and then nutrition coaching. Like, all it is time to complete the journey.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't get there if your car doesn't work. So basically now all the wheels are turning. Yeah, exactly. So now all the wheels are turning. Numbers are going nicely. It just needs time. Like, you know, you can't get strong overnight. So basically, I've just got everything in motion just now, so that like we keep climbing the graph, and hopefully grab some records.
Yeah. So just going into the kind of last kind of subject is, what's your future goals? Like, let's talk numbers here. What are you wanting? Obviously you don't have a time frame because you don't know when you're competing next, but still staying on that 100 kilo weight class then. I think that's one thing I was wondering, if you were gonna ever try to push that, but for now you're comfortable at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say comfortable, because I'm still having to do a weight cut to get into it. But you know, I don't feel the need to carry excess weight to go up a class yet. You know, maybe if like some muscle keeps packing on or something like that, I might make the decision then. But you might laugh, but I've got this mindset. The bigger picture is 1,000 kilo total, and I'm just going to keep pushing for that 1,000 kilo total. 10 times total at 100 kilos, like, you know, there's only a handful of people that have done that. So, but then there's also a handful of people that own a record at one time. So, you know, anyone's capable of it at the end of the day. So my idea is for this year, 850 total, which would put me in dots points, pound for pound, strongest powerlifter in Scotland as it stands, for weight reasons. Obviously, you know, Stoltmans are strongmen, so it doesn't really class, but there's some really good names. And like, there's some really, really good names in powerlifting. Recently became friends with a few of them. Like, one of them that I feel most impressed by just now is Matthew Campbell from up in Shetland. Like that.
I know him. He was at my meet.
Mountains.
He was at my meet. Not competing, but just there, and he was some man. What a guy. And I followed him on Instagram after that, and he just blows me away every single post.
Like, yeah, his beard is as impressive as his powerlifting.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
no homo, but yeah, like he's pretty impressive. So, just things like that, like, to be a name that people are like, shit, I'm not sure if I want to compete against him. When idols become rivals, that's kind of the most motivating thing you could be. So I just want to be up there, make a good name in powerlifting, and make good connections at the same time, meet some good quality people. We're all planning like meets at different gyms whenever this lockdown ends. It's just a lifestyle that I really want to fully submerge myself into, and going to things where like all the big names are going to, like Pro Raw, heading over to Australia just to compete, the Irish Pro, just sort of, you've got an opportunity. Why not pursue it and compete at the highest level that you can? So I'm hoping 850 kilo total this year. Rep work, I got just over an 830 total. So in single reps, I should be pushing 850, no problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything can change as we've discussed this earlier in the podcast. But yeah, if I can get an 850 kilo total this year fairly comfortably, and then push into the nines next year, and hopefully 2 years after that, it's
and what do you think that'll be from? Like what numbers in each would you think you'd go for in a competition?
Well, this year,
yeah, if you were to compete this year, what kind of be your numbers that you try and hit in each lift, like squat, bench, and deadlift?
Yeah, I mean, so like 850 is just a number that I would like, but individually as lifts, I'd really like to push for a sort of 335 deadlift.
Yeah.
Probably not too far off on squat, 320. I'd quite like a 320 squat and a 220 bench. That would make me pretty happy. So things seem to be on track. So I'm feeling pretty good about it, to be honest, and hopefully everything goes to plan. But like I said, I don't really need to plan much. I just need to do as I'm told, and all I need to do is make sure that I keep my head in the game and don't lose track.
Don't get too fat.
Yeah, which has proven pretty difficult with all these like home bakes everyone's doing just now. Oh man, lockdown has killed me. It's been solid.
We'll kind of leave that there. I think we've got a good kind of understanding of what you're kind of like as a human being, with the face behind Renegade.
Yeah.
So
believe in your cause, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and it's good to kind of hear your journey of how you went from bodybuilding and it just wasn't your thing. You thought it was going to be your thing, and then you found powerlifting, and it's just that's the thing that you're good at. And I think it will be great I think you're someone that is very appreciative of this talent ability to be able to do this. And I think you're quite a humble guy, would you say?
I mean, I'm sure there's probably some people that wouldn't agree, but no, I definitely don't like to brag about things. And I kind of just like I'd rather invite other people to do the same than sort of put people down. And, if people are impressed by what I do, I mean, as you know, as an athlete, like, you're never impressed by yourself, are you? Like, you're never fully satisfied. Like, you make a PB and then you're like, right, what's the next one? Instantly. Like, you never just sit and think, yeah, okay, cool, I'm happy. Like,
you reach that goal, and then it's like, right, if you, like we were saying, going back to that squat from 200 to 220, for example, you hit 220, which I'm actually just saying this because that was my goal, and I hit 220, and it was like, oh my God, now I'm scared it's like you should get scared of your numbers. You're like, oh my God, I've got to try. You got to try and hit the next big thing, whatever it is. It should scare you, and it's good that it scares you.
I would think so. Like, you need to be a little bit motivated at the fact that, like, this could crush you. Like, this could, if you don't treat it with respect, because obviously there's a lot of cues that you need to go through to make sure that you're sort of performing correctly. I always revert to the whole fight or flight system when it comes to lifting, because, you've got all your cues in each individual lift. And if none of them are in check, you go to survival mode, which means your form's getting thrown out, and all you're doing is trying to survive by moving that bar however you can. So it's definitely worth being a little bit scared of it, but always believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't be putting that on the bar if you didn't think you could do it.
Exactly.
And, cliche as they say, like, failure is a form of success, because you kind of take a step back, realize where you're at, and you can either make it or break you. And I always firmly believe that you know,
Yeah.
if you believed in yourself to put that weight on the bar, then one day you're going to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, and you can take that mindset into everything you do. It's about just committing to things and making it worth your while. You want to put everything into it. And the good thing about this kind of sport is, all you need is a gym membership, and you can do as much as you can. You don't need
like somebody else has bought all the expensive equipment for you.
Yeah. It's a sport that you can really have fun with and you can get into a really good community, and you can use the gym if it's a form of, if it's something that gets you out of the real world. It's just, you get into that bubble, you put your headphones in, and that is your healing process almost. Your time to chill out, and step away from the real world and get shit done.
Like, I think that's maybe the side that people don't really get if, like, they're not that involved in this. Like, you know, if people just kind of see it as like a weight loss journey, or, you know, they kind of go because they think that progress just accidentally happens. You know, you got to put some level of intent into it, but, like, you know, people don't really realize how this is actually therapy for us, even though it doesn't look comfortable or enjoyable. But, you know, for us, this is a key to survival, if you get me. And you know, I would say that this lockdown has been the toughest anyone's ever going to have it, because, you know, a lot of people's routines have been taken, and but, you know, as humans, we're built to adapt. So, you know, bless everyone that comes out of this feeling better, or, you know, they might have found a new dimension to their mindset so that they can push through challenges like this. But now this has been a staple for me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this has just been like my key to survival, basically. Like, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going through. As soon as you step through the door, that's it. That's game time. The athlete cap goes on, and you can just separate from the world and just do your thing.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone can get something positive out of that conversation that we had, and learn a few things, whether it's that they can take to the gym when it reopens, or mindset, or even just venturing into a new sport and giving something a try. It's always something that's going to be there, and the weights aren't going to go anywhere. You can always refer back to them PBs, and whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever you want to do, I think we've got a good message from here. Me being predominantly bodybuilding and you being powerlifting, it's very similar mindsets, and it's just great to see. And powerlifters and bodybuilders can get along.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. So yeah, we'll wrap things up. Do you want to just say where we can find you? I'll put the names of, like, the spelling and that in the description and that, but just give yourself a wee plug, and anyone that you want to give a wee plug to. You've mentioned
well, wee plugs, man. My Instagram's Renegade_Powerlifting. Tends to be mostly my own content, but I'm starting to coach a few clients, and all their numbers have been coming up pretty good. So this has been a fresh turn for me, and my way to sort of express my interest in other people getting better. So I might be offering sort of more coaching slots as time comes on, but awesome. Trying to keep it like a real sort of like concentrated group just now, so they can get 100% attention. But limitless coaching, Emma Hackett, she's honestly been superb. I don't know if her diary's open just now for any more bookings, but if you get the chance, it's the best money I've ever spent. Kyle_Kabuki, that's my personal coach. Absolute wealth of knowledge and programming master. Honestly, it's been amazing, because if you give somebody else the accountability of, you know, making your progress, as we said earlier, it's been absolutely superb. But then Steph and Andy at Pro Prep Coaching, like, they're local to me. They're superb people, really motivating, and masters of their sport. Basically, they're professionals at what they do. As you could vouch for them as well. So yeah, that's me, man.
Yeah, awesome. So we will wrap things up there.
I can't forget Cerberus as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've been plugged in this whole one. So use code Renegade for 10% off.
There we go. Now it's a real podcast. Now it's a real podcast. We have got promotion codes, and you can use code Rob for absolutely nothing, but you can try it. I mean, it might work. It might work sometime. But yeah, thanks very much for coming on. And if you liked the podcast, make sure you subscribe, and we might get Lewis on again when things get back to normal, and we can find out when he's got a meet date planned, and we can talk a bit more about that. But I'm sure you guys would love to hear more from him, and I'd like to get him on again. So thanks
it's been a
very much
pleasure,
for
man.
coming
Thanks
on.
for having me, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No
It means a
problem.
lot. It's a really nice experience, and it's a pleasure. So thank you.
No problem at all. So we will see you guys later on the next podcast. Who the guest will be, I don't know, but it'll be someone just as good, or even better, maybe.
Hey, drop that attitude.
See you later.